Hello, and welcome to the Care Advocates, where we're advocating for you, the family caregiver. I'm your co-host, Lance A. Slatton, along with my other co-host, Dr. George Ackerman of Together for Sharon, also known as Sharon's son, George. Welcome, Dr. George.
Thanks. Really appreciate your time and the viewers. I'm so excited for this great opportunity to really get the word out as how important caregiving is and that no one's ever alone in this fight.
Absolutely. I know, just to give the viewers and listeners a little background, George and I have known each other for a little while now, and I have such a great empathy and sympathy for, your mission, and that's for your mother, Sharon, who, tragically did get diagnosed and passed from Parkinson's disease. And, your story has always just really resonated with me, even though my father didn't have a disease like Parkinson's or dementia or anything. But I was advocating trying to help him to heal and recover. And, it's difficult when you lose a parent, I say prematurely. It's not from old age, it's from something else. I just think it's not that it's ever easy, but I just feel like it makes it a little more difficult. Because we tell our kids all the time, you get one mom, you get one dad, you can't go get another one, step parents obviously excluded, but, so we had talked and we decided we wanted to maybe do something together, and we came up with the Care Advocates, which we're going to be launching right here, right now. And but you also had some other exciting news, right?
Yeah, before that, I just want to say how much I admire your work and everything that All Home Care Matters does, because it does matter, but you're reaching so many people that need to know that, they have support too. And that's why I don't, obviously we're both busy and we don't team up with just anyone, but
Right.
whenever I think of you and all the work you do, it inspires me. And that's what keeps me also fighting. And to bring up the good news is, yeah, just like you have just become an author, and this is
There it
my
is.
first book on. This is actually my first book in advocacy. I've written before in the law and criminal justice, but this one actually means a lot to me. And you're also, I want to congratulate you on your book, which I
Thank you.
purchased. I
Thank you.
recommend all the viewers to purchase Lance's book too, because it's just a lot of important information that I wish I had at the time. A lot of our show, I believe, and I'm hoping, is going to concentrate more on the caregiver side. A lot
Right.
of the time, in my work and social media, and I don't know how I'm on this 24/7, I really try to advocate for those diagnosed with Parkinson, their caregivers, and in memory of my mother, all the individuals who lost their battle and their loved ones. But I think I don't really focus enough on me and my journey, because I really want to push and get out my mother's memory. So it's going to be a really fascinating time together that we can talk more and concentrate on caregiving and
Right.
advocating for that. Because in the book, which again, I'm not really looking for sales, it's a weird thing to say, but I just want my mother's memory to never be forgotten. But I actually have chapters specifically called My Primary Caregiving, Steadfast Family Support. So there's a whole chapter on my wife and from her, the children, finding good aids, which you are an expert on, in caregivers, and also finally the great caregiving. So the book starts off a little bit about my mother and our journey, our battle, and the first signs of Parkinson's, but dives finally into a world I just don't have the time to discuss, which we might, and that's caregiving, because I went from really advocating in my prior career in life. I always think it's a before caregiving life. Maybe that's a B, C. For us, it's before care.
Right.
But,
Before caregiving. Right. And I just want to, because this is more of introducing the viewers and listeners to you and to me, that if they're not familiar, you know, um, neither one of us knew that your book was coming out this month and mine came out just a few weeks before in March, which was just a neat coincidence. But when you were writing it, George, because I know how passionate you are about, keeping your mother's memory alive, but also maybe almost as passionate about advocating to finding a cure to Parkinson's. And that's why, part of the reason, I wrote my book was to help family caregivers who were going through what my wife and I were going through in our early 20s and had no support. I was pursuing medical school and no one ever offered us resources or, check out this book or go to this website or call this government agency for some sort of support and resources. You know, it's just, it's got to be more difficult, though, I think, writing the book the way you wrote your book than the way I did mine, because I didn't really use a lot of personal stories or anecdotes other than just my experience and, my expertise. How did you find it when you were, sitting down and, reflecting back on those memories and those situations with your mom? Was it bittersweet? Was it, I can't wait to get that part of the book over with? Or, I mean, walk us through what that was like, because I got to imagine it was hard.
Yeah, I never planned on writing a book. I had the last year was the toughest, I think, year of my life throughout any. I've been through tough things, but nothing like that. And I actually kept a journal, so I wrote every day about a few sentences, literally from the last day started to the final day my mother passed. And it literally brings you through the anguish, the trials, the tribulation, the sadness, maybe a moment of happiness, and where I even just wanted to quit. And I share that, and that's what kind of got me into thinking maybe I should put in a book, because I never again dreamt I would be doing even speaking, meeting you. And that's what I love about the community of caregiving and advocacy is people just open their arms to me, and it means the world, because I still feel some days alone. As we've discussed, I don't have Parkinson's. I'm no longer a caregiver of someone alive with Parkinson's, and I was shocked to find out, that I'm still alone even in that fight. And I'm actually already written a second follow-up book to the first one, which I'm not going to release for some time, but that one's a little more controversial. And I say that just because I find I don't have a seat at it's going to probably be called the seat at the table, and it has two meanings. Parkinson's unfortunately took away a seat at our holiday table. My mother's no longer there, but I feel that sometimes I don't have a say or seat at the table in the conversation. Now we can get into in the future, but there's different worlds I'm finding. There's the Parkinson's community, but then there's advocacy, and all of you who, again, I can't say anything. It's just been incredible, the people I met. But sometimes I do feel in the Parkinson's community, they don't, not that they don't care, but some of the big organizations don't seem to want me speaking, or don't really want my story out there because they don't want to deal with reality. And obviously Parkinson's is unique because everyone's so different. But, I always tell people in my book, one chapter is called The Final Week, and you might not want to read that chapter if you have Parkinson's disease. So it's definitely a book, again, I created more for awareness, advocacy, and show that there's a shining light from the end of the tunnel of darkness, which I went through. So there's positives and things, but it says a
Sure.
lot about reality. And finally, there's tough topics I want to talk about in our show, the end of life, medical marijuana, things that people just for some reason shy away from. And we need to change that and break the mold. And hopefully our show will be able to do that.
And I think it will, because I think as we progress, and I don't mean you and I as in we, but just we as a society, I think with internet and, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all these other, necessary evils, I call them, people are becoming more aware of what's available out there and learning of things they were never made aware of, either at their doctor's office or through a social worker. And then they start looking into it and they find a whole new world of things. That's why I mentioned, like with my situation, Facebook was still, it was fairly new, but wasn't brand new. But, we weren't thinking, oh, let's go on Facebook and look for information on, Parkinson's or dementia. You feel like you go to the library to get a book, you go to the doctor to get answers, and we never were given those resources or even asked if we needed any resources or any support. And that's what really motivates and drives me to do what I do. I want to help those people who are in the situation that like my wife and I were in, or maybe, you and your family and your mom were in, and advocacy, I think, is the word of the day, right? It's, we advocate for these people, even though it may not particularly help us in our situations because our situations have passed. It still helps us, though, by feeling like we're doing this in memory of our loved ones, or we're helping a family so they don't have to go through maybe an experience like we had to go through at times.
I mean, that's great. And I actually have a chapter literally called Trying to Find Good Aides and Caretakers. And we had a nightmare. Like, literally, that's why I want you to also please share your title
Yeah,
of your book. Maybe you could talk about, again, your book for a moment and the
yeah,
title, because I think I could have used it then. We had to go through literal, almost, I don't want to use the word hell, but I mean, we had my mother the last 4 years when I took over. because she started her health going downward, and we just wanted some people there physically so she wouldn't fall. Now we went through major companies down in South Florida. We had to literally fire them daily. I mean, we would have people sent that didn't speak English, people who didn't know what Parkinson's was. One woman actually took my mother while my mother wasn't feeling well out of her own house and brought her to her house to go grocery shopping. And it was just like shocking. And just to have, I'm finally at the end last month, we found a heaven, like this woman. I won't say her name, but she was just a dream. And I knew when she was with my mother, I could rest, I could have a life, I could do my work, and I didn't have to worry because the dementia, late term dementia or onset also she had that, and that brought delusions and hallucinations. So she thought people were harming her. But for some reason, with this one young lady, the last few months, she didn't have that. So it was just a trials and tribulation. But again, maybe we could touch on a
Yeah.
lot of this in depth in the future. But maybe you could share the
Yeah.
title of your book, and a
Yeah.
little
So the
bit
name
about
of
your.
Absolutely. So the name of my book is the All Home Care Matters Official Family Caregivers Guide, because not all families have the means or the resources to hire professional companies or the wherewithal to hire somebody privately, which I always advise against just because the risk outweighs the reward. Because you get into, workman's comp and liability and, all these other things. And the book's written for these families, no matter where they're at on their journey, whether you're just discovering or you think your parent or your loved one needs care, all the way through to the end stages. And we have resources and explanation of documents in there and checklist. But and that's the thing. You really touched on it. With home care, Michigan, we're a non-licensed state. So what that means, George, you guys could move up here, buy a house and say, let's open a home care company. There's no state or federal regulation or regulatory departments that oversee that process. Anybody and everybody can call themselves a home care company, and that's not a good thing. If we had to call a plumber in Michigan, that plumber has to be licensed to fix our toilet or our sink. But if we call a home care company, they could be working out of their garage and come in and give our loved one medication or, whatever the case may be. There's something wrong with that, right? And, that's something we're big advocates on as well, is trying to get the law changed so that we fall under the regulation like a lot of other states have.
It's amazing, and I'm glad I have one of the first copies and still in my bookshelf here. And it's not just a book; you can actually refer. I would call it also a referral book or a reference
Yeah.
book. Might call that, because you can really, if you have an issue or something coming up that day, and you think about it, you might want to look at Lance's book, and it might actually help big time. There's another chapter important to me, and you're actually in it. So, and all home care matters because. I'm so grateful, not just for you and the friendship we built, but so many people out there who, I feel like have opened their arms and now I consider family. I
Yeah.
mean, we text a lot and just to say hi, and not about any of this, just to see how we're doing. And
Sure.
that's important because even now it's still, I mean, I had nightmares the other day about one of the chapters, just having to reread it 100 times before
Yeah.
you can even publish it. And, it just brought me back to the memories, and had a speech this morning, earlier today,
Mm.
and I was telling we were almost done, and like for some reason, uh, again, not to plug it again, but if you see the
Oh,
picture, this photo is actually one of my most favorite moments in my life. It's actually my mother and I dancing at my wedding. I almost fell apart on. I'm not going to do that this time, but it's hard. It was like an Oprah moment, but
sure.
that was like the one moment, maybe for 5 minutes, we were dancing to Barry Manilow, "I Am Your Child." That was her favorite artist, and she drove me nuts with Barry Manilow so much that I love him too. But in that moment, Parkinson's disease didn't win. It didn't matter. She smiled, I laughed, and that was, I met my wife. We were married that day, and it's probably the best moment of my life. That photo, and that's why I really wanted it to be the cover art. And that it shows her, she was beautiful and happy, and the disease didn't really start at that, like, to take over and destroy everything. And that I actually videotaped, took pictures, and wrote the journal the last year. And I'll never share the pictures or the video, so I don't want her remembered for that. But again, we'll get deeper, get into it, and I hope this show is also a message to everyone out there that we gotta all come together. We have to spread awareness, and I'm hoping we reach people who aren't aware. and
Right.
people who do not aren't caregivers, because unfortunately they probably will be one day, or even ourselves will need care. And it's going to be a lot of lessons learned, and I'm going to learn every day. I do every day I speak to you or meet you, and just very excited for the opportunity.
I'm looking forward to it. And again, the care advocates, we're gonna sometimes have guests on. Sometimes it'll just be you and I. I know your wife's a partner in this with you as well. She may join us at some moments, but I'm looking forward to it. And I do hope that this will help raise awareness and just bring advocacy to the forefront for, like you said, all these different issues that we're planning on discussing and talking about.
Yeah, there's so many people out there who I bet would love to jump on. I had the honor to interview United States Senator Rick Scott yesterday for the
Oh,
national
wonderful.
plan. Yeah, that was not an easy thing to achieve, because you only have one or two senators your whole state, and they were very busy with other things. But then I also interviewed Dr. Ray Dorsey, who's a leading doctor who wrote the book End Parkinson's Disease with a few co-authors, and also one of my favorites, his name's Ted Thompson, but he runs the policy division of the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So this is becoming bigger than, me or any of us. And there are people out there who want to share the word. And I'd love to get more into the advocate side, together, because that's not something I really concentrate, because a lot of time focusing on people with Parkinson's and this and that. But so we just started on the website. I've interviewed 600 people, including you. We share completely free, and that's another big thing about our show.
And
We don't want
where can people go, George?
thanks together for Sharon.com. It's all spelled out. We don't accept money, but we do accept that people know they're never alone. And the only journey that breaks my heart today is the one I'm not aware of. But focusing on advocacy, and I mean, there's so much to dive into, and so many topics. Even when we talk, I think I'm more and more have a pen, paper. So I'm ready to put the jumpsuit on. I've
All
never
right.
jumped out of a plane, but I'm ready to go, and it's going to be exciting, fun, sometimes tough. But I think that we're going to come out with some incredible conversation speakers, and just really excited for this together, and this new journey. And to end the real discussion is my one chapter also, not just am I grateful, but the mission forward. And I always say it's, we're almost like astronauts, or you could take military. I worked with military, auxiliary, policing, or any industry. You got to have a mission statement, or in business. I'm sure your amazing organization has one. And you just got to keep moving forward, be positive, and so many people we can touch and also learn from. So thanks again.
Absolutely. George, real quick before we wrap up, where would you like people to go that would like to order the book? And we'll also have it in the show notes too.
I appreciate it. It's available on Amazon. I think you have to copy the actual name of the book, Son's Journey from Parkinson's Disease Caregiver, the Advocate. But the easiest way is really just to go to togetherforsharon.com. There's a little tree now. It looks like a Christmas tree. Click on that. It goes to all my social media, and I'm average. It's my pinned message on all the social media. And we're working on my website to actually have a video of the book and a whole beautiful publicity thing. But again, that's it's getting expensive. That's something we'll also talk about, I hope.
Yeah.
Is honestly, everyone out there publishing a book is very, very difficult. Even now, it's still a struggle, and I'll never make what I put into it. And that's again good, because that's not what we're here for. We want the message out, Lance, for the individuals looking for home care. The tips, I mean, I needed it. I'm telling you right now. We'll get to that. And then for people like me, we need more awareness. And I've done about 50 shows the last month. That's probably why my wife is getting mad at me. But, I sometimes I see everyone like you more than my own family, which is not the best thing. And we could also talk about the health, our own health, which is the
Right.
thing I don't follow. But I just feel like if we need, for me, I try to reach again people who do not have Parkinson's, and people who are not caregivers with Parkinson's, because we really need everyone on this ship for the national plan to pass next year, coming to Congress. And on togetherforsharon.com with those interviews. As you're not associated specifically with Parkinson, but we've just started to expand to other illnesses and diseases. I've interviewed someone who's a hero of mine who had cancer, Alzheimer's. I mean, you need dementia. I'm working hard for fibromyalgia because my mother had that, but I'm open for every type of. This is not just about Parkinson's specifically, our show, and I don't want it to be. I want it to be about everything and everyone. My podcast is really geared just for Parkinson's. So this is going to be a lot of excitement and a new area for me to learn too. So I'm really, again, looking forward to it. And thanks to you for your time, your
Yeah.
family, and your family especially for letting me text you at all hours and panicking. How do you put something on Amazon, which I'm still trying to figure as we're sitting here.
It's a good experience. It's frustrating, but it's one of those things. Once you get through it, then it's just kind of second nature. But I do sympathize with that. For me, one of the just I don't know why, but one of the neatest things about the book for me was going and seeing all the different libraries that my book is now in. That to me that's just a neat experience to think like my book that I just wrote to try to help families is now available in libraries. So you don't even have to buy it. Just check it out from the library and take it back when you're done. And so someone else can benefit from it. So I know yours just came out a day or two ago. So probably any day you'll be getting those notifications, which libraries it's in. And that to me meant more than the Amazons and retail stores, just being in the library is a neat thing.
Yeah, publishing might be another podcast too for us. I
Yeah,
still have
that could be a whole series.
yeah.
All right. Well, Dr. George Ackerman, Sharon's son from Together for Sharon, and the co-host of the Care Advocates, thanks so much. I'm looking forward to it, my friend.
Me too, and thanks for you, your family, your viewers, and all the support that you always give me daily. And still fighting for a cure for Parkinson's and all these diseases. And even though it's been 4 years, unfortunately, I still grieve every day. And I do feel a part of me was lost when my mother passed, but I feel a new part has been gained through incredible relationships like yours. So thank you again.
You're more than welcome, and you are truly not just an acquaintance. You are a dear friend, George. And I look at this with like my father, all the lives that you're touching, that we may be touching, and the help we're giving. You or I probably wouldn't be here if we didn't have that experience with our parents. And it doesn't bring them back, but I feel like in a way it kind of keeps the memory alive. Which if you can't have them here in person, it might be hopefully the next best thing. And all these lives that you're touching it Together for Sharon, and us with our company and with the All Home Care Matters. I just want to help other families. That's the simple part of it. That's the reason I was going to medical school, not to have an MD after my name, but to help people. I told somebody the other day, now I feel like we're helping people on a much bigger scale than if I was just in a community hospital or in a doctor's office, So
Well, you do. Yeah, you're definitely reaching now the Parkinson's community because I'll be sharing it. But it's also inspiring this month. Actually, yesterday is World Parkinson's
World
Day.
Parkinson's Day.
April's World Parkinson's Month. I think every day is Parkinson's awareness till we have a cure. But I've been really lucky to go to a lot of live things. I love virtual, like we have great opportunity, but being at a Michael J. Fox event last week, Parkinson Foundation, next week, American Parkinson's Disease Association. Then we're flying to the Unity Walk in Central Park in New York City. Then that'll be it for the year. But being there with people who unfortunately are fighting, people have lost, and they come up and hug you and cry together. There's nothing more touching that inspires me. But just on a last note, I usually end every show, if you don't mind, with a little quote. You probably have heard it. This is for you, your family, and everybody listening to our show coming. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. We'll both, alongside, advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. And now I can proudly say Lance and I are just getting started, because every day, meet another person, hear a new journey. I mean, just 4 seconds ago, somebody sent me their interview. It's called, I think they're rock climbers for Parkinson's. It's just so unique and beautiful, and just incredible how there's people out there we don't know about. But with our show together, I think we're going to discover some incredible things, and this should go global for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, we'll see you guys here next month. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today here at the Care Advocates, where we're advocating for you, the family caregiver. We look forward to seeing you again here next month.